Mr. Thaksin, who now lives in exile in Dubai, is seen as the de facto of pro-Thai party, and his influence loomed large throughout the election campaign. India's Jet Airways fined for death of pugs. A consumer court in the Indian capital Delhi has ordered Jet Airways to pay compensation to the honor of 2 dogs that died on a flight 2 years ago. The airline was told to pay $3,248 to Rajendra Tandon for the emotional setback caused by the death of his pet pugs Batanu and Jimmy. Mr. Tandon had taken the flight in May 2009 from Mumbai to Delhi. On arrival, he was told that the dogs had died because of a lack of oxygen. He sued the airline for negligence. Jet Airways denied the charge. A spokeswoman said they regretted the incident. The death of 2 pugs is a great material and emotional setback and loss to the consumer who is animal friendly. Jet Airways must compensate the loss. Times of India newspaper quoted Delhi District Consumer Forum President C.K. Chaturvedi as saying, "The forum said it was the duty of the airline to maintain adequate air pressure in the compartment where the pugs were kept." The newspaper quoted Mr. Tandon as saying that he did not care for the money, but instead wanted the guilty to be punished. He said he would donate the compensation money to charity. Pugs became a popular breed of pets in India after one appeared in a hugely successful advertisement for mobile telephone service. Elephant with the longest tusk in Asia dies in Sri Lanka. An elephant said to have the longest tusk in Asia has died in Sri Lanka. The animal, named Milangonda Raja, was about 70 years old and had served in a ceremonial capacity for several decades in the city of Kandy. Many Asian elephants, smaller in stature than the African cousins, failed to grow tusks at all. But Milangonda Raja's tusks were so long that they reached the ground. There are now plans to stuff the dead elephant and put him on public display. His owner, Apuhami Milangoda, recalled that Milangoda Raja had been among a batch of elephants he and his friends had captured in northwest Sri Lanka in 1945. Milangoda Raja took on a major role parading in the Kanti Perahera, the huge yearly festival in the city of Kandy, famous for bearing the relic believed to be the tooth of Buddha. He was involved in the Kandy Perahera for nearly 40 years, and for 10 to 12 years, he was the chief elephant at the event, said the elephant's owner. Rowan Atkinson in hospital after F1 Super car crash. Actor Rowan Atkinson is now in hospital after being injured in a car crash in Cambridgeshire. The Blackadder star suffered a minor shoulder injury when his car he was driving hit a tree and lamppost and caught fire. It's understood the car crash happened on the A605 at Haddon near Petersburg at 19:30 BST on Thursday. Media reports said he walked from the McLaren F1 supercar and waited with a motorist until an ambulance arrived. Firefighters arrived on the scene to put out the fire. Kenya drought starvation claims 14 lives in Turkana. At least 14 people have died in Kenya's northeastern Turkana region, the first hunger-related Kenyan deaths in the current regional drought. The MP for Turkana, John Muin, said the deaths were in 3 remote villages after the government failed to transport food to drought victims. The UN says more than 4 million Kenyans are threatened by starvation in the region's worst drought in 60 years. Other countries affected are Somalia, Ethiopia, and Djibouti. American President Obama turns 50. Happy birthday to you, Obama. President Barack Obama marked his 50th birthday at the White House on Thursday. In the process, he also became the 7th American president to celebrate his birthday while in office. We'll move on to the business world. Stocks plunge on fears of global turmoil. What began as a weak day in the stock markets ended in the worst rout in more than 2 years as investors dumped stocks amid anxiety that both Europe and the United States were failing to fix deepening economic crisis. With a steep decline of around 5% in the United States on Thursday, stocks have now fallen nearly 11% in 2 weeks. Markets have been plunging as investors sought safer havens for their money, including treasury bonds, which some had been avoiding during the debate over extending the nation's debt ceiling. Sparking the drop was an unsuccessful effort by the European Central Bank to reassure the markets, which instead ended up spooking investors. The banks intervened with shows support to buy bonds of some smaller countries, but not Italy and Spain, whose mounting troubles have come into the spotlight. This was taken as a sign that the recent rescue packages by Europe could soon be overwhelmed by the huge debt burdens in those two countries. Investors were further unnerved by a candid remark by José Manuel Barroso, the European Commission President, who seemed to confirm fears about the sense of political paralysis. Rather than play down the problems as European officials have done since the debt crisis began last year, he said, markets remain to be convinced that we are taking the appropriate steps to resolve the crisis. Welcome to the world of science. Mars. NASA images show signs of flowing water. Striking new images from the mountains of Mars may be the best evidence yet of flowing liquid water, an essential ingredient for life. The findings reported today in the journal Science came from a joint US-Swiss study. A sequence of images from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter show many long, dark tendrils a few meters wide. They emerge between rocky outcrops and flow hundreds of meters down steep slopes towards the plains below. They appear on hillside warmed by the summer sun, flow around obstacles and sometimes split or merge, but when winter returns, the tendrils fade away. This suggests that they are made of thawing mud, say the researchers. It's hard to imagine they are formed by anything other than fluid seeping down slopes, said Mars Reconnaissance Orbit Project scientist Richard Zurek of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, but they appear when it's still too cold for fresh water. And in sports, eyes on Woods, but Scott refuses to blink.
Tiger Woods played competitive golf Thursday for the first time in nearly 3 months. Showing little residue from the knee injury that kept him sidelined, Woods shot a 2-under par 68 in the opening round of the Bridgestone Invitational. It was his lowest opening round of the year, although it left him in a tie for 18th and 6 shots off the lead.
Out there in that first tee, just like I did when I come back off the long layoffs off the winter. Of the surgeries I've had over the years, 2002 into 2003, and then 08, 09, that first tee shot, I was pretty nervous. It felt awesome.
It was the first time Brian Bell caddied for Woods, who fired longtime caddy Steve Williams last month. Bell is a childhood friend of Woods and president of Tiger Woods Design. Williams now carries the bag for Adam Scott, who was the leader through 18 holes following an 8-under 62. Jason Day is 1 shot back and 2 ahead of Nick Watney. Dave Ferry, the associate
of the tournament. Nick Watney is a 5-under 65 and 9 golfers who shot 66 came the closest to Scott and Day. Woods, who shot 68, was 6 strokes behind Scott.
This was fun to be able to hit the ball with that much flush feeling through the golf ball, the speed I had. It was pretty nice.
Now, before we close today's event of news analysis, let's have a recap of the main points. Sonia Gandhi recovering after operation. Syria violence, at least 2,000 killed, says US. Chinese officials seized and sold babies, parents say. Indian anti-corruption bill tabled in Parliament. Groups operating in India could be linked to Mumbai blasts. Thailand Parliament elects Yingluck Shinawatra as Prime Minister. And there we end today's event. News analysis will be fresh again every week. Be with us on all the events. Thank you.